Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here. I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to put on my glasses so I can see who's here. And we'll check out and find out what's going on with folks. People are going to start showing up here. We'll be live. Well, we are live now. We're just waiting for people to come in. So this is the fourth virtual book club, the third that we're doing using this technology, which I really enjoy. StreamYard has been very easy to use, and it's just been a good experience. Great, we've got 10 people coming in. This is great. 11, 12, 55, 70, thousands. They're coming in. So, yeah, our first virtual book club was with the, I believe, was it the Convenience Revolution or the Cult of the Customer? It was, hey, Jackie, how you doing? You're back. Really appreciate it. Here comes Bill all the way from San Diego. My buddy runs a hotel out there, and he and I become great friends over the years. Hello, Robert. Good to see you again. Good morning. And so, yeah, if anybody wants to make a comment so I know you're there, that's great. But anyway, the first virtual was done. What technology did we use? We used Zoom technology, and it went real well. It was fun, but we couldn't live stream it. We couldn't send it out to the rest of the world. And so that's what we're doing now with the StreamYard program, and I think they're doing a really good job. Hey, I don't want to mess up the name. Tatsuya, good to see you again. Well, let's go ahead and get started, because I believe one of the attributes of amazing people is to be on time. Now, yes, the doors were open at exactly, hey, David, all the way from New York. Good to see you. We've been emailing back and forth a little bit about the customer service issues that have been going on. Yesterday's what was just amazing. I'm shocked that some companies do what they do. Anyway, part of being amazing, and I wrote about this in the book, Be Amazing or Go Home, is to show up on time. I mean, that's what amazing people do. So our doors were actually open a moment or two before the top of the hour, and I was here, but I think in honor of everybody coming in on time, we should get started. So the Amazement Revolution, that's what this book is today. And let me go ahead and get my slides up so you can see. There we go. This is what we're going to talk about, the Amazement Revolution. Love this book. Of course I do. I wrote this book. And here's the point. The book did well. It hit the New York Times bestseller list. It hit the Wall Street Journal list. I believe it was #1 on the USA Today list. And it was also obviously #1 in a bunch of categories on Amazon. So, hey, everybody, good morning. More and more people are coming in. Excellent. So let's go ahead and talk about the Amazement Revolution. Every one of my books, I try to take a different spin. They always start off typically talking about what I call the basics, the moment of truth, the moment of misery, the moment of magic, so that everybody understands it. So I'm just going to very quickly start off by reminding everybody that the moment of truth, which was a concept that came out by Jan Carlson, the former president of Scandinavian Airlines. He was asked to take over the airline when it wasn't doing quite as well as it could have been doing, losing millions of dollars. And he turned it around with the concept of the moment of truth. And this is just the only thing I'll repeat from any of the other presentations that I've been doing in these virtual book clubs. But the moment of truth is simply anytime the customer or passenger, because it was an airline, you may call your customers guests, members, clients, it doesn't matter, whatever you call them. Anytime the person you do business with comes into contact with any aspect of what you do, they form an impression. Jan Carlson said it can be good and it could be bad. And I added a third version of that. It can be good, bad, and it can also be satisfactory, just okay. In other words, mediocre. And the negative moments of truth, the negative interactions, which could be just a bad experience, it could be a complaint that you have, that's a moment of misery. The average or satisfactory, I call those moments of mediocrity. And then the positive moments of truth, I call those moments of magic. And just a reminder, a moment of magic is not like, wow, blow me away, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. No, a moment of magic is simply anything better than average. And when you can have consistent and predictable above average interactions and experiences with your customers, they'll say things like, I love doing business with them. They're always so friendly. They're always so knowledgeable. They always get back to me quickly. Even when there's a problem, I know I can always count on them. By the way, that last one is when there's a moment of misery, turns into a moment of magic. Even when there's a problem, I can always count on them. So that's a premise that I've set up in every one of my books and everything that has to do with customer service and experience. I think that is what I would call the basics. So now let's talk about this book, The Amazement Revolution. So this book has 7 specific strategies to really what I would call create customer amazement. Some of them are strategic, some are very tactical, some focus inside the company because the internal customer, in my mind, is just as important as the external customer. And also what's happening on the inside of a company is felt on the outside by the customer. So I want to, for this session, what we're going to do is I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, and then we're going to open it up for comments and questions, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead, and I'll get started by showing you the first concept, the membership experience. By the way, when I first started to write this book, I was looking for a great company to showcase throughout the entire book. And I actually thought I could write an entire book about American Express. And I thought, that's the membership experience. Well, the first big case study in the book is American Express. And it actually takes all 7 strategies and shows how one company can embody all 7 of these. And by the way, just as we talked about with the Convenience Revolution and some of my other books, you don't have to do everything. Maybe it's just one that you're really, really good at, and that's what separates you from your competitor. Maybe it's 2 or 3. With American Express, it was all 7. And so the first one that came to mind is creating a membership experience. And what I find fascinating about the membership experience is that if you look at what American Express does compared to other credit card companies, I think they do things rather well. I think they're amazing, a wonderful company. Their customer service, in my mind, has always been excellent. Whenever I've had an issue, had a lost card, had a stolen card, they've been proactive and reaching out to me when there's problems, when it looks like somebody's using my card. That was a crazy story. If I have a moment and I remember, I'll tell you what happened there. But they are just so good at it all. But the membership experience is saying, hey, you're not just a customer, you're a member. That's something a little bit better than customer. Now, here's the cool thing. You don't have to call your customers members to treat them like a member. You can call them anything you want. Now, when I'm in front of a live audience, I ask people to raise their hands. How many people are members of a private club? And a few people may raise their hand. Then I asked, how many of you are members of a gym, a workout facility? And, a bunch of people raise their hand. I go, well, actually, the gym is a private membership. It's what you're doing is you're paying a fee to get access to the equipment, locker room, towels. And if the club, if you want to call it the club, or the gym is doing its job correctly, when you walk in, whoever is at the front desk will hopefully remember you. They'll use your name. You'll sign in. You'll be granted the membership privileges. And what happens is you start to treat your customer like a member, like they're part of something, like they're part of a club, if you will. And that's what American Express has done. It's very proud to see on my card, it says member since '83. I've been a member for a very long time. And I feel good about that membership. And they refer to me as a member. And by the way, it's just a word that they use, member. It's just, another word for customer. But sometimes the words that we use can drive a better culture. So let me tell you what happened one day. I wasn't going to talk about this, and I've never told this story before. I did write about it years ago in one of my Shepherd letters. So let's see if I remember. I'm at home. I'm getting ready to leave to go to the airport. I'm flying to Dallas. I'm at a hotel at the airport. I remember it's a DFW Hyatt is where I'm staying, because that's actually where my speech is going to be the next morning, is actually at the airport hotel. Talk about convenience. People say, what's your favorite hotel? I say, the one that's connected to the airport, because it's just easier to get to. What's your favorite city to fly to? The one that's nonstop from St. Louis, Missouri, where I live. Anyway, I digress. So as I'm walking out the door, my phone rings and they say it's American Express, and they wanted to report some potentially fraudulent activity that had been happening over the last 6 or 7 hours. They asked me if I've been over in the Asia area buying electronics from multiple stores. And I said, no, I haven't. They go, well, your card's been compromised, so we've turned it off. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to go out of town. I'm going to be staying at a hotel, and I'm going to need that card to check in. They said, don't worry, Mr. Hyken. We see that you're going to be staying at the Dallas Hyatt Airport Hotel. I said, how do you know that? And the woman on the phone chuckled. She goes, we know an awful lot. I'm thinking, yeah, they pretty much know everything when it comes to my spending patterns and where I'm going and where I've used my card. But it was really cool the way she said it. And then she said, we are going to contact the hotel, make sure there's no issue with you checking in, and we can have a new card overnighted and be at your hotel before 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. And that way you'll have a card to use later on, and you won't have to wait till you get back to St. Louis if you need the card. I went, wow. That's membership. That's customer service. They made me feel like I was a valued part or valued customer to them. They call me a member. They could call me a client. They could call me anything they want, but they took care of me. The idea behind membership is to create an experience where people feel special. If you think about what a real private club might do, they remember who you are. They use your name. Pretty much if it's a private club that's high end, they say yes as often as possible. They try never to turn people down. They try to find alternatives if they can't say yes. This is what you do with the membership experience. All right. So, hey, I see Buddy Rice is on. Hello, Buddy. All right. Let's go to the next one. Build a culture of serious fun. Now, fun does not mean let's have a party, let's push each other around in our chairs. No, fun is actually an acronym, F-U-N. Fun stands for fulfillment, uniqueness, and next. So my case study in this is Brian Keeley. Brian Keeley, at the time of the writing, he may still be, was the CEO of Baptist Health South, a medical center down in the southern part of the United States, southeastern part, Florida, and lots of opportunities to work at a hospital, to work at a medical center, smaller offices. But what he said was he wanted to create destination employment, meaning that if you came to work at Baptist Health South, that you would want to stay there for your entire career. That's a lofty goal, destination employment. And the way he did it was to recognize this is what our our employees want. And that is they want to have fun in the form of 3 words: fulfillment, uniqueness, and next. Fulfillment. I love my job. I'm doing something that I feel good about. And by the way, Brian Keeley felt if they created this destination employment feeling, meaning you never wanted to leave, you would be fulfilled. Therefore, you would be more engaged. Therefore, you would better engage with the families and the patients of the hospital and the medical center. And that was his whole way of thinking. Let's create that employee experience that makes people want to stay and never leave, because it permeates out through the entire organization, through colleagues as well as customers in the form of patients and family members, and even doctors, because they want to attract the best doctors to their health center. So they want to take care of them and they treat them as customers as well. So fun, fulfillment, that's fulfillment. Love the job. People get the job that they want. 2, uniqueness. What specialty does this employee have that we can exploit? For example, someone in my office loves to do video and graphics. So we make that a big part of their job. Claire, my assistant, loves managing the details. And that's why she's called herself, I think I mentioned this last week, the director of details. There was a gentleman that I met that was a server at a restaurant. And I came back like 7 years later, it's actually at a hotel restaurant, to the hotel, and the server was still there. And I said, "You're still here. I remember this guy. He took care of me." I said, "That's amazing. You've been here so long." He goes, "I love this job." I go, "What is it that you love?" He goes, "Well, I love to do video. It's a hobby of mine. And in addition to me serving, and being a server at the restaurant, once a month or so, I do a special little video project for the hotel. I film what the new lobby entrance looks like, the new decorations for the holidays. et cetera, et cetera. He says, and I put together this little video and I give it to him. They put it on YouTube. Makes me feel so good. They're exploiting him for his unique talent. There was a woman that spoke multiple languages at a business that I was had as a client, and they exploited her and let her talk to all the people that called in from those different countries. So that's the uniqueness factor. Exploit uniqueness. And next, N stands for next. What's next? What's the new project? What's something to be excited about? Or is it just the job's great and people are excited to come back the next day? Build this culture of fun and you'll attract the best people. You'll retain your best people and your customers are going to feel it on the outside. The next one is number 3, partnership. This is like not being a vendor, but being a partner. This is where I call it loyalty on steroids, because this is what partners do. So there's a company that I use as a case study, Contigix. Matthew Porter ran this organization, and he's since retired, sold it, retired. But let me tell you why he did so well, because he didn't treat his customers like regular customers. He would do anything for them, and they reciprocated, and they viewed him not as a typical vendor, but as a partner. And the story that he told that just said, this is the perfect example, is so they had, for lack of a better term, we use the term cloud today, servers in the cloud, where all the information, all the data resides in the cloud, somewhere else, basically, off-site. And they had a client that was getting ready to run a promotion. They sold tickets. Like if you were going to go buy sports tickets or show tickets, you would go to Ticketmaster or one of those companies. Could be like a StubHub kind of thing. Anyway, they were getting ready to release tickets for a new concert that was announced. And they knew that there would be a mad rush to buy these tickets. So they released them at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. And what happened is the servers started to become overloaded with customers trying to buy tickets. And somebody at Contigix said, you know what? This is going to crash the server. We need to call the client and see if they want to add more storage, if you will, or power to it. And if they do, we can expand, no problem. We won't crash the servers. But if we don't, we're going to overload the servers. They're going to crash and nobody's going to be able to buy their tickets. So at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the client wasn't there. Nobody was there. They couldn't reach him. And Matthew made a good decision. He said, you know what? I have a feeling I know what the client's going to want to do. Let's just expand the servers. Monday morning, I'll tell them what happened. And if they don't want to pay for it, I guess they don't want to pay for it. But I don't want us to create a bad experience for them. Well, Monday morning came along, and the client not only was willing to pay for it, they were over the moon with appreciation, and they recognized, Matthew, you looked out for our best interest. It wasn't about the money. We could say, no, we're not paying for it. It's not in our contract. You did this on your own. But no, this is the kind of partner that we want to do business with. Partnership is loyalty on steroids. If you're a real estate agent and you have a client who you take from home to home and you take a personal interest in it, it's not just another customer. That's going to make that client feel like you're out for their best interest and you're a partner. If you are in a retail store and you're a salesperson and you said, hey, if you want, I'll keep you informed of when the next sales are. I'll tell you when new items similar to this come in. I mean, I have Maddie, she's my girl at Nordstrom's. She calls me when there's a sale. She calls me when new items come in that she thinks I'm going to like. I don't look at her as a salesperson. I look at her as my consultant, my partner, if you will, when it comes to making me look as good as I could possibly look, which is about as good as it gets. She sold me the sweater, by the way. All right, let's go to the next one. Number 4. Number 4 is to hire right. And if there's one thing that is probably in today's world right now with the crisis that we're all experiencing, hiring right. Well, 2 months ago, it was hard to find great people. Unemployment was at an extreme low. Well, now unemployment is an extreme high, and there's lots of people looking for jobs. And our goal, if we have an opportunity to hire somebody, is not only to hire a good person and retain them, but create an experience, that fun experience, fulfillment, uniqueness, and next, that's going to keep them there. So if their old job opens up, they don't leave to go back. So hiring right becomes crucial. I have a number of different case studies in the book. One of my favorites is Nordstrom, because in the process of hiring at Nordstrom, they will give you an interview and they will ask you a very important question. What's your definition of customer service? That's it. I mean, there's much more to it than that, but that's how simple the question is. Hundreds and hundreds of right answers. There's a few wrong ones too. And if it's obvious this person doesn't understand what customer service is by their own definition, it's time to move on, find somebody else. It's a great way to screen. Hy-Vee, the grocery store chain, when they bring somebody in for an interview, what they ask the person to do is show up a few minutes early and walk around the store and look for things. And in the interview, the manager asks questions. What'd you see? What would you change? Are there any problems that you noticed? These are the types of things that let the manager know or the hiring person from HR know that this applicant, that this potential employee is in tune with the store and some of what might be important for somebody in this position who they're hiring for to know. So those are just a couple of ideas. I think it makes pretty good sense that you want to hire right. So we move on to, I love the after experience. The after experience is when you do something that is surprising to your customer. It's not expected, but it's greatly appreciated, even as small as it is. I would love to get my buddy, maybe in the future, John Rulin will come on and talk about his book when we do this virtual book club, which is called Giftology, because he is the master of giving gifts and following up. And hey, I see my buddy Galen Bingham is here too. Hey, Galen. The after experience, gifting. It's something small. Sometimes it's big, but it's usually something small, and it's memorable. I have a number of case studies in here, but I'll tell you about my friend Brian Lord. Brian is a booking agent, and actually he's now the president of Premier, one of the top agencies in the country. They book speakers just like myself to travel around and do speeches. And what Brian likes to do is get to know his customers or his clients well, and his goal is to make them be a partner, not just, have a vendor relationship where he's just an agent that they call the book speakers. And there was a particular client of his that loved baseball and specifically loved a baseball player. I believe it was Curt Flood. And so what Brian did is he went on eBay and he found, I think it was a signed baseball. It was either a signed program or baseball with the baseball player's autograph on it. Wasn't very expensive. It was like $20, $25. Probably the postage cost almost as much for him to get it and then send it to his client. And he sent this to his client, and the client was just like, oh my gosh, this is the nicest gift that anybody's ever given me. And he put it on his shelf, and it's always there. It's on display. Now, here's something that's really cool. Premier could have put a little plaque on there that says, to our special client from Brian at Premier. There is no name branding of any kind on this little gift, but every time the client looks at that gift, they remember it. It is an incredible after experience. Ranush is a restaurant here in St. Louis, Missouri, where I live. I went there on my birthday, and he was the manager, the owner was so nice. Abud is his name, was so nice and friendly and took great care of us. On the way out, he handed me a bottle of wine, and he says, tomorrow it won't be your birthday anymore, but I want you to enjoy this bottle of wine with your wife, and you'll remember this great night that you had the night before. What a great little after experience. It could be a thank you note that comes in. It could be a follow-up phone call, but the after experience is powerful. All right, number 6, community. Number 6 is community. This is, how do you build a tribe that enjoys doing business with you? It's not just about one customer, it's about a community of customers. I use Harley Davidson in there as an example of a company that wasn't doing well. It was going down, and they had changed the way their motorcycles ride. They went from the big beast that was really loud to something more streamlined and quiet and smooth. And what they found out was that their customers didn't want that. They wanted the old Harley, the louder and more vibration, the better. So they listened to their customers. They listened to their community of customers, and they made a promise to them. So we're going to build these for you, but we want a promise from you. If we do build them, will you buy? And they did. And it put Harley back on the map. There are a number of companies that have causes. I use Virgin Unite, Richard Branson's charity for all the Virgin companies. People sometimes love doing business with a company because the charities they're involved with, the giving back. No doubt that community giving back and philanthropy, it is altruistic, but it's also a business strategy. while it's not set out as not, I hate to say it's a business strategy because you think, well, it's intentional. The only reason they're doing this is for marketing and promotional purposes. Not true. But what happens is there's a law of reciprocity, and it doesn't matter if it's a business doing a transaction or interaction with a customer, or if it's one person meeting another person and having a good relationship because they have interest in the same areas. What happens is people like to be around people, and in some cases do business with people, with the companies that they enjoy doing business with and appreciate them for what they give back or what they stand for. And a lot of people love Chick-fil-A, and one of the reasons is it's more than just the chicken. They have these values, and those values are important to the customer. I use Lush, the cosmetic company, as an example. No animal testing. That's really, really important. And they're going to get a group of customers that come to them just for that sole reason. So if you can find a way to interest your community in something that you're doing, it could be charitable, it could be a belief that you have, it could be a certain level of values that can't be matched by others. Whatever it is, you're going to build that community. Finally, number 7, let's talk about walking the walk. I love this one because as leaders, and by the way, I said it last week, my buddy Mark Sanborn wrote a book. You don't need a title to be a leader. Anybody could step up and be a leader. It's the way you act. And if you're a leader in a company, you must act out the values that you have. Walt Disney, a great example. He'd see a piece of paper when he was alive and walking through the theme park. He would see a piece of paper, stoop down, pick it up, throw it away. He called that stooping to excellence. He knew that if he didn't pick it up and people saw him walk by it, he gave permission to others to walk by it as well. Tony Hsieh from Zappos. Zappos is an amazing company that he built up and eventually sold to Amazon for just under $1 billion. And by the way, he still runs it for Amazon. He had 10 core values. He says, this is what I believe in. This is what our company believes in. And if you come to work at Zappos, you need to believe in them too, because all 10 of them are what we're about. If you are not part of it, even one of these core values, if you miss one and it's not part of who you are, I'm sorry, it's not going to work out here. He's emphatic about the core values. There's a great quote that I like to use, walk the walk, and I'll read it to you. You probably can't read it on the screen. Years ago, business grew, and this, by the way, came from Herb Kelleher, CEO of Southwest Airlines, and Herb figured it out. He said, years ago, business gurus used to apply the business school conundrum to me. Who comes first? Your shareholders, your employees, or your customers? And I said, Herb said, this is what he said. Well, that's easy. But my response was hearsay at the time. I said, employees come first. And if employees are treated right, they treat the outside world right. The outside world uses the company's product again, and that makes the shareholders happy. That really is the way that it works, and it's not a conundrum at all. When he first gave that answer, he wasn't sure, but he realized it was absolutely spot on. Take care of the employees, and or in this case, the employees at Southwest Airlines would then take care of passengers. The passengers would be happy when to fly again, and then the stakeholders, the shareholders, the people that invested in the company, they're going to be happy because Southwest has done great things. And if you look at their track record for profitability, it's unmatchable by any other airline. It's just an incredible experience. All right, so that's my presentation. We did it in pretty good time. Everybody knows, by the way, that this is how to reach me. And if you want copies of my slides, hold on just a moment. If you want a copy of my slides, put the words in an email. In the subject line, Amazement Notes, and send an email to Claire and just say Amazement Notes. That's all you have to do. You don't have to put anything else in it. If you want to make a comment, you can make a comment. But that's all you have to do. Claire is my assistant. Remember, Director of Details. So let's go ahead and go back to Q&A and let you guys chime in. Galen, it looks like you made a comment. Those who do the right thing because it's the right thing will always be rewarded. And if not, they'll at least know they did the right thing. I love that. By the way, Galen is an entrepreneur. He's a speaker. And I don't know if he's still over at Coca-Cola, but he was an executive over there. And what I love about this is he has roots in real world life situations with big companies as well as small companies in his own entrepreneurial venture. So what I love about this is that you're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. And that's the kind of people you want to hire. If you can find people that believe in what Galen is sharing with us right now, my gosh, those are some of your best people, because they will do things just because it's the right thing to do. In the book, Cult of the Customer, I talk about the force of one, the force of many. The force of one is often somebody inside an organization that just does things because it's the right thing to do, regardless of what's going on around them. So thanks for that comment. I see we have another question. Since what's felt on the inside of an organization by employees is felt on the outside by customers, can you talk about some ways to create an amazing employee experience? Well, we go back to fun, F-U-N, fulfillment, uniqueness, and next. This is what it's all about. What can we do to create that fulfilling environment? So I will tell you, there's a number of ways to look at this, but let's talk about what Google does. Google let their engineers, they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do, but they also gave them the opportunity to work on any other project they wanted to, a small percentage of the time. And by the way, they said, I can't remember, it's 10, 15%, but they said you can spend X number of hours a week working on other projects aside from the one we have you doing, just so that you can do something that you love to do. People love that. So what part of the job that when you're hiring somebody, can you give them that is something they're passionate about, even if it's 10% of what they do? That's it. To give you an example of how this works in my mind, when I do a speech, let's say I'm asked to do, and it's I know speeches are getting shorter and shorter. They want you to do 20 minutes for a TED-style talk, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. Let's say in a 60-minute speech, I put in, and for those that don't know it, I do magic for fun and hobby, but I also put a couple of tricks in my speech. I used to work in nightclubs growing up. And when I got into the speaking business, that entertainment business helped me. I realized it's not about the entertainment, but entertainment is surely the sugar that makes the medicine go down. So I might do one, maybe two tricks, kind of like a speaker tells a story. I've told a lot of stories and examples today. And it may take maybe 5 minutes between the two tricks out of that full hour. And I once asked somebody, how much magic do you think I did in that? And they said, I don't know. It's like almost half of it seemed to be like magic. Well, the entertainment value was so strong that it appeared that a bigger chunk of my speech was actually devoted to the entertainment side, when the reality of it is it was a tiny little sliver, probably about 8 to 10%. And what that means is if you give somebody something small that they enjoy, it makes everything so much easier. I don't want to use the word tolerable, but that is a good way. People become fulfilled when things that they have to do, when responsibilities that they have to do, all of a sudden are augmented with things that they love to do. And it makes everything just be so much easier and more enjoyable. So there you go. Do we have, yes, we have Robert. All right, from Dallas. Now, look at that beautiful family. Any tips on how to continue following these steps while working virtually? Well, the first thing I would consider doing is recognizing that we are recording this. So you can take it to your team and show it to everyone, or ask them to watch it, and then all meet on a virtual Zoom and say, I want you to come back with one, or you can say 3 ideas that you thought were great ideas that are actionable. Now, you don't have to have bought the book. If you bought the book, that's great. If you go back to the original invitation to come here, there were 3 articles that were on the site, 3 or 4 articles, and I believe there was a video that helps explain what some of the concepts of the book are. So it gives somebody context enough that they can come up with some ideas and share them. So that's what I would do. I would have everybody at least read some articles and then come back on a Zoom meeting. Don't you love Zoom? And then, hey, have a brainstorm. Everybody's required to come. If you ask people to come with 3 ideas, then if somebody took their best idea, they have two more to look at and to consider. So they get a lot of great ideas. All right, let's see if there's another question over here. How can I create my company's core values and service missions? All right, let's talk about that for a moment. I call that the mantra. We talked a little bit about that with Cult of the Customer. The mantra is a one phrase, a sentence phrase or phrase that describes what your service values are. A company's core values are much bigger than a service value or service mission, but let's focus on that for just a moment. I like one sentence, no longer than that. It could be just several words. For example, I talked about the RitzCarlton in the recent virtual book club. We're ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. 9 words describes who they are. That's their mantra. They actually call it a credo. Ours is always be amazing. 3 words, always be amazing. We want to be amazing to our clients and teach our clients to be amazing. And we hopefully have a good place to work here where people say, I like the job. It's amazing. I get to do some things I love to do. So that's what I would do is look to that one sentence. That is your service vision. And it takes a while to get there. Brainstorm, come up with it. Don't put it in cement or in ink right away. Live with it for a little while. See if we can tweak it. By the way, ask people throughout the company. It could be people on the front line. It could be people behind the scenes. Ask them, how do they feel about this? Is this reasonable? By the way, this is not your tagline, although it could be. This is truly something that behind the scenes, and even if it is out in the public, but definitely behind the scenes, means enough to say, this is what I'm going to do. It's my North Star. I love to use the Beatles example. The Beatles had a North Star. It wasn't customer service related, but they came up with a 3-word mantra, if you will. It was bigger than Elvis. So whenever they decided to write a song and record it, they said, is this the kind of song that's going to help make us bigger than Elvis? If we go on this tour, is this the tour, this trip that we're going to take, these series of concerts, are they going to help us become bigger than Elvis? Now, core values of a company, that's much bigger, and perhaps one day we'll do a presentation on that. But as far as the service vision and mantra goes, there you go. Do we have any more? And I'm looking at my time, and I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. We have about another 5 minutes or so. Great question, Sean. How should I deal with negative customer reviews and comments in a public space? For example, if somebody just gives you a really scathing review on TripAdvisor or one of those types of Google or any one of those types of review sites. And by the way, don't think you have to be in the retail world or the hospitality world to get a negative review. In virtually every industry, there are some type of, for lack of a better term, bulletin boards, some type of forum that customers will go on to, and they'll talk about the people they're doing business. It's their industry forums. So when there's a negative review, first of all, you have to be aware that it's there. And I would suggest getting Google alerts or some effective way of finding out that your name's being mentioned in social media. Now, I believe whenever you're mentioned, you should try to respond to as many people as possible, positive as well as negative, but negative here. Number 1, you want to respond quickly. By the way, last week or the week before, we talked about a 5-step process of responding to complaints. You acknowledge it, you apologize for it, you discuss the resolution, you take ownership and act responsible. It's like, even though it wasn't your fault, it's still your opportunity, and you act with urgency. So this kind of works into this. Number 1, when you see a review, you want to respond quickly. And number 2, you want to acknowledge, yes, I can understand why you would be upset. I'm sorry that happened. That's not the way we like to do business. Here we get into the resolution. What I'd like to do is talk to you personally. If there's a phone number you can leave me, or I will direct message you and ask you some questions because I want to get this resolved. And there you've taken some ownership. And again, you're acting with urgency. Now, ideally, you're able to take advantage of that and talk to the customer and then resolve the issue and then come back onto that same forum and get on there and say, hey, as a follow-up, I'm glad we had a chance to talk. I'm glad we were able to work this out. I'm glad you're happy now. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk through it and let us solve this for you. Because here's what happens. Everybody can see that complaint, and they can also see how you manage it. My buddy Jay Baer, who wrote a book, oh gosh, Hug Your Haters. Hug Your Haters. Great book about embracing the complaints. So Hug Your Haters, he says, when it comes to social media review sites like Yelp and TripAdvisor and the rest, it's like a spectator sport. You can watch and see this duel taking place between customer and company. And it's fun to watch when it's resolved properly. So I hope that helps out. Recognize you're not going to ever get perfect scores. By the way, the company that has thousands of ratings and every one of them is perfect is going to be suspect. Northwestern University a few years ago came out with a study out of their business school that said, anywhere from a 4.2 to a 4.5 is a very credible review. You're not going to make everybody happy, but if you can make almost everybody happy, that's extremely credible. Let's take, let's see, I see any other questions? Let's take one more if we've got it. Otherwise, we'll wrap this up, and next week we'll come back with another book. So any other questions out there before we jump in? I don't see any. So, hey, let's do this. My next book that I want to talk about, I don't know if we have it in the schedule or not yet. I'm going to look at Claire, and Claire can give me a head nod. I can see her. But I believe the book is going to be Amazing or Go Home. Let's do that one. I don't think we've covered this one yet. Be Amazing or Go Home. Claire's giving me the thumbs up on this. Great. That's the one we're going to cover next week. So still, a lot of us are under lockdown. A lot of us are told, please don't go back to work. As we are migrating back to work, this is great. But hey, I knew this at about 11 o'clock. So it's close to 11 o'clock Central. It's noon on the East Coast. It's a little early on the West Coast. But hey, maybe we take 30 minutes and do this virtual book club. Please spread the word. We're going to do this again next Friday. We're going to do Be Amazing or Go Home, and I hope you can join us. Remember, if you want the slides to today's presentation, just email Claire at Hyken.com and put Amazement Notes in the subject line, and I promise that she will send those out expeditiously. There we go. And this is obviously the slide has been up. This is how you reach me, Hyken.com. By the way, if you haven't seen it yet, I have an Amazon Prime TV show. You can also catch it on Apple TV, Roku, but it's Be Amazing or Go Home. And for some reason, you don't have the ability to watch it on any of those channels. If you go to YouTube, I realize a lot of companies don't allow YouTube to be shown at work, so you'd have to go home. But YouTube, just go to beamazing.tv, beamazing.tv, and you can watch all of the episodes. We're in season 2. I believe we're in the 3rd show of season 2. We're going to get ready to film the 4th in the next few weeks. So, hey, thanks everybody for joining. Really appreciate it. I see so many good people out there, so many friends. Thanks for all the kind words that you're saying, as well as the questions that you had. We'll see you next week. Until then, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.